We have Vera Scroggins.
I'm Vera Scroggins, and I live in Brackley, Pennsylvania, Silver Lake Township, Susquehanna County, and I'm the Director of Citizens for Clean Water. I am documenting the industrialization, the heavy industrialization of our county since 2008, showing what is happening right next to homes, within 300 feet of homes, and what is happening on school grounds and on farms where we produce our food. 5 school districts in our county, they are all leased. 1 school district has 2 gas wells and high-pressure gas pipelines. And now we even had a consideration in the paper recently by the superintendent of Elk Lake Schools, Mr. Bush, who said that he would consider a compressor station and a dehydrator, a processing situation right there on school grounds, which I find absolutely appalling and disturbing. I would like to say that we have continuing contamination of water in our county besides the rest of Pennsylvania. You're now proposing 40 more regulations. How are you going to enforce them? Where are the inspectors? From what I have been told recently by an inspector, that there's only 3 oil and gas inspectors for the Northeast region. And we have 2 inspectors for water quality. How is that going to be able to help us? We need many more inspectors. We need a governor that is truly wanting to enforce and regulate, and he needs to supply hundreds of inspectors. I just looked at a site. I just looked at a gas site near my home in Silver Lake, the Tunkhannock Farm. This is a farm. They have 2 gas pads on this farm. It is presently being fracked. Tunkhannock South is being fracked. And then when I looked up the amount of inspections, there's only 1. And they're already fracking. 1 inspection for a whole gas pad where there are 4 wells. This I consider absolutely unacceptable, even disgraceful. I do not feel protected in my own township and my own county. So therefore, you now are proposing 40 more regulations. What is the point? And why are you proposing them? What are you trying to tell us? You mean there are problems? We need to do more regulations? We need to have more oversight? You mean things are not working out perfectly like the industry likes to tell us? All the ads in the industry, every time I hear an industry rep speak, everything is fine, there are no problems. I even heard one this morning on a radio station, and he said, there's no contamination. He had the nerve to say that. Meanwhile, we have at least 161 cases in our state that we know of. I am asking for stricter proposals even. I would like to expand the liability distance from the gas wells. Right now it's 2,500 feet. If there's contamination within 2,500 feet from the gas pad, the industry is automatically liable. I say we need to go at least a mile or a mile and a half. We have cases right now that are, to me, explicitly clear that they have been contaminated since drilling and fracking. And they are a mile or a mile and a half away. We also have leaking wells. We still have leaking wells. The industry tells us they know what they're doing. Why do we still have migration of methane and heavy metals in our communities? We have a leaking well right now in Dimmock on State Route 3023. The Cabot Oil and Gas has been working on it. Starting next month in February, it'll be a year. 1 year trying to repair it. They put millions into it. They don't want to admit that it could be a problem. I would like to see a limitation on how long they can repair or fix a leaking well. 1 year is totally unacceptable. The people that live there have to be exposed to the noise, the lights, the traffic, now for a year. And they still haven't fixed it, and DEP has told us several times it's going to be plugged. Meanwhile, Cabot resists, and they keep trying to fix it. So I would like to see that change. And I would like to see more transparent records. Every time there's a contaminated well and DEP has determined it, I want to see that on the DEP site. I want to know when my neighbors are contaminated. Then I have to really start to check my water even more closely and get it again tested. We need to have that on the DEP sites every time you've determined a site. Thank you.
My name is Peggy Malou, 703 Hard Lake Road, Montrose, Pennsylvania. I'm a member of the Susquehanna County League of Women Voters and the League of Women Voters of Pennsylvania, for whom I speak. The League applauds the Environmental Quality Board for extending public hearings on this proposal. This is consistent with our ongoing commitment to informed citizen participation in government decision-making. Tonight we focus on the protection of public resource provisions of the proposed oil and gas regulations. Based on our national position, we believe government policies should promote environment beneficial to life through the protection and wise management of natural resources in the public interest. In concert with the Pennsylvania Constitution, our advocacy stems from Article 1, Section 27, that assures us the right to clean air, pure water, and the preservation of natural resources today and for generations to come. Based on our statewide study, consensus and position, we recognize that the production of natural gas significantly impacts the environment and the economy. However, such environmental development should not come at the expense of our natural resources and public recreation areas. Given these positions, we address application requirements. The inclusion of mandatory notification of well permits within close proximity to public resources and the identification of parent subsidiary business entities are most helpful. The following league recommendations strengthen the protections of public health and environment. Post the entire text of all well permit applications when submitted, grouped by watersheds and political subdivisions. This should be easily accessible location, written in a user-friendly format to facilitate public review. Extend proof of adequate investigation and assessment regarding state, federal, threatened, or endangered species with respect to all ecologically significant species and communities. Given the rapidly increasing rate of environmental degradation and evolving issues related to climate change, a broader purview will offer greater protection for our constitutional rights. Trigger the initiation of the application process when permit modifications and renewals occur, while still avoiding other permit duplication. Expand minimum required distances around proposed service locations. The proposed distance of 200 feet from these sites is inadequate. Degradation from noise, light, and air pollution extend beyond such limits. The proposed distance of 1,000 feet from a drinking water source is inadequate. Homeowners have a 3,000-foot distance from water wells and springs for required notification. Taxpayers deserve the same protection for their public resources. Based on the Duke University study, a distance of a mile or more is needed to safeguard public health. Extend the 15-day period to 30 days for Public Resource Agency to make recommendations based on a comprehensive review, analysis, and response. The National Park Review should be the minimum standard used to protect Pennsylvania public sites. Allow the public, not the applicant, to determine the description of the function and uses of public resource required by the permit. Include conditions for cumulative as well as site-specific modifications to avoid and mitigate impacts to public resources. The right of Pennsylvanians should take precedence over the optimal development of oil and gas resources. It should be the industry's responsibility to prove their actions will not be harmful, and their executives should be held financially and criminally responsible for damages to public resources. Post-permit renewals consistent with the recommendations for all permit applications. Finally, addition of disposal and enhanced recovery well permits to the proposed regulations. However, we suggest these relatively new hazards be examined with greater scrutiny consistent with the environmental impact studies of the National Environmental Policy Act. The League appreciates your consideration of our comments this evening. Thank you.
Next.
Hi, I'm Kristen Landon, 11 Baker Herky Road, Tunkhannock, Pennsylvania. Good evening. My name is Kristen Landon, and I am a lifelong resident of Wyoming County. Currently, I live in Lemon Township. I hold a degree in electrical engineering from Wilkes University, and I have spent 20-plus years of my career working for the wireless telecommunication industry on siting towers and other infrastructure for the industry. I'm a natural gas leaseholder, a stay-at-home mother of 2 young children, and I work full-time as an engineering consultant. I've been observing and experiencing firsthand the Marcellus Shale development over the past 4 years. Within a 2-mile radius of my home, I have 6 active well pads with approximately 16 spudded wells, the Herky compressor station, and 1 freshwater impoundment. The closest well is within 3,500 feet of my house. I want you to know that I actually feel, hear, see, and breathe Marcellus development 24 hours of every day. I'm here to state my support for the quick passage of revisions to the Chapter 78 Oil and Gas Wells Code. I read reports on both industry and environmental comments from hearings in other parts of the state. Industry states proposed regulations kill jobs. Environmentalists state the regulations are not strong enough. As I see it, these regulations will help create jobs in the local environmental and engineering firms that currently exist in Pennsylvania. The industry will not stop these discussions. It's time to debate and fight it out. I want to use my 5 minutes this evening to express how critical it is to me as a resident, leased landowner, in the development area to have these regulations in place to better protect the health, safety, and welfare of my community. I live in a county and a township that has no zoning or protections for landowners on any of these issues. I feel regulations are extremely important when you have an industry that has a large amount of operators, 73 according to the DEP Executive Summary document. Speaking for residents of the Shale region, we need action now, and I urge no further delay. I would like to speak specifically on 3 of the revisions being proposed. First, Section 78.15, application requirements. I'm very heartened to see that the natural gas industry will be required to consult with the Pennsylvania Natural Heritage Program, as well as be required to notify about the impacts to public lands. While it is not as encompassing or as protective as it should be, it is a start, and these regulations need to be approved quickly to afford some type of endangered species in public land protection. In addition, I recommend that DEP look at adding a provision to the section that a company planning for a well, pipeline right-of-way, compressor station, or other gas processing facility should only be allowed to apply for a permit if they have a current lease in place or a letter of authorization from the landowner. Currently, the above described applications can be submitted to the DEP for review without a lease in place with the landowner. It would save DEP's time and resources and allow the public to have accurate information on a facility prior to the installation instead of receiving amendments to the permit after the fact. Second, Section 78.51, protection of water supplies. This section is brought quibbling from both industry and environmental groups. I understand this section to mean if my private water supply was a superior supply to the safe drinking water standards pre-drill, then it needs to be returned to that superior level, not just safe. By means of example, if my pre-drill chloride level is at 100 milligrams per liter and safe drinking water standard is 250 milligrams per liter, and my post-drilling water supply rises to 600 milligrams per liter, I expect that this section will require the industry to return my water supply back to 100 milligrams per liter, not 250. If something happens to the quality of my water as a result of drilling, it is only fair and just that the quality of my water be put back to the same high quality that existed before drilling. If the industry or environmental groups feel this language is ambiguous as written, then DEP needs to make it clearer in its language, perhaps by listing examples as given above. Third, Section 78.59, centralized impoundments. I recommend these centralized impoundments be eliminated entirely and not permitted. This section was the lengthiest in the proposed Chapter 78 changes, 10 pages of regulations on this section alone. The storing of flowback fluids in an impoundment area provides inadequate protection of groundwater resources. Industry can do better and has done better, Many operators do not even use centralized impoundments. The industry should be required to use the above-ground containment systems outlined in Section 78.57 of the Code. Protection of groundwater and other water resources should be one of the Commonwealth's greatest concerns. Leaks can go undetected in these centralized impoundments. Why take the chance? Since there are other methods available to the industry, why not require them to do the safer alternative? I thank you for the opportunity to speak before you this evening and provide my input.